This is a super significant day for me because you and I have a history together, and we've worked on a lot of events together. We've run a few searches together, and I've always looked up to you as somebody who I would love to work with one day.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
So the fact that we're sitting across a table from each other, having this conversation, and about to launch into working together is something really meaningful for me. So I'm really glad that we're sitting here today.
Well, we're completely aligned because I've very much looked up to you. I like the work that you've been doing, and you're a heck of a lot of fun too. So It's always been a pleasure.
I look forward to lots of fun together.
We will.
Yeah. So, you've occupied the top marketing spot for one of the nation's largest credit unions. And I would just love it if you just trace us through your leadership journey there. And I know you started in a different area than you finished. Why don't you just walk us through it?
I had the great privilege to work for what is now Coast Capital Savings. I think it's going by Coast Capital for my entire credit union career, which I started in 1990. And so that is over 25 years. And I started when the organization was called Surrey Credit Union, changed its name to Surrey Metro Savings, and eventually through merger became Coast Capital Savings. I started in a marketing department of 4, and I was very much the junior. Assistant product manager, I think was my title. And I finished with so much help, which I'll talk about, as the chief marketing officer of an organization that was much larger. And I had my team, we worked together, was around 40, 45 people. My journey, when I think about my journey, there's things I was in control of and things I wasn't in control of. I think kind of what I brought to the party, my characteristics, or what my mom would be proud of, a sense of humor. I worked hard. I was very curious. I made mistakes, and I hope that I learned from them most of the time. But I also love people. And, when I think about the success of my career, I would really put that foremost in the hands of the great people that I worked with. So I had fabulous mentors. A great mentor of mine from the very early days at Surrey Credit Union was Jim Miller, who came from a marketing packaged goods background. Procter & Gamble, I believe. And he really spent the time with me and taught me a lot of the fundamentals of marketing. But he also gave me so many opportunities to grow. And I think, believed in me probably more than I did myself, and let me get into a lot of fabulous projects that I got to work on. I worked with many great CEOs. One of my favorites would be Lloyd Craig, that was the first CEO that I worked with. And he had a great sense of humor. He also really believed in me and gave me a lot of opportunities. And, when you can hitch your star to someone else's wagon, it's kind of cool. So that was certainly part of my leadership journey. And then I also just worked with such fabulous people, the team my colleagues, the team that sort of worked for and with me, really, helped me advance and helped the organization advance. The other thing that you can't sometimes get guaranteed to happen is just luck. So I was lucky enough to be at the organization at the right time. We were certainly an organization that wanted to grow, so we did a lot of things, including a giant merger. And we also tried mergers that didn't work, and those were equally as learning experiences. But there was a bit of that. I was with an organization. We were kind of the underdogs, and we're working very hard to advance. And I think if I was in maybe a different organization, because we were sort of lean and mean, I got to do things maybe before I was ready. And so, the leadership journey for me was about starting off like managing projects and doing those fairly well, then managing people. But what became the most fun to me was leading. And leading for me is about the vision. It's about rolling up your sleeves, but sometimes it's just about getting out of the way and having people that are far smarter and better, and giving them the room to do their work. And I think we at points just where everyone was galvanized, we were working together, and we had such fun. And I think fun is this other ingredient that I think was part of my leadership journey. And, we had adversity. So, we had one of the largest mergers, I think, in the credit union history, where we had really almost a three-way merger where it was Pac Coast Credit Union, Richmond, and Surrey Metro Savings came together. And it was messy at the beginning. And through that, we landed on a new vision and mission around helping people and being genuine in that really took us forward for quite a few years. So, there's a quote by Edward Filene, and I think he launched the first credit union in the U.S., and he said, credit unions are worthy of great deeds and deserving of great loyalty. And when I kind of think about my career in credit unions, that would kind of sum it up. Such great work I was able to do, and it just kept me so fulfilled and loyal. So that would be my journey.
Well, and under your leadership, that team became and that brand became kind of iconic, and you won a lot of awards. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think it goes back to landing this mission at the time, and the organization is a great organization today. Obviously they've moved on with different visions and missions, but the one that I was kind of part and parcel of, and it was a team that worked on it, was, simple financial help. And it was around the world of finance is complicated. Let's not make it complicated for people. I don't think anyone wishes complication in their life, their insurance policy, their marriage, let's keep things simpler. And it was around help. And, our take on that was, how do we take that and infuse that into the brand? And how is it, credit unions were known for helpful people. There was no differentiation there, and it's honorable. But we wanted to move into things that were truly proof points of help. And so we did things like we launched the first free checking account by a full-service financial institution in Canada. And that it is a mouthful, but it also launched us on a path of innovation where we just continued to say, financial planning was always kind of rather complicated. We thought, could we do something that is truly helpful, that's just 5-6 basic questions that would help people open up the door to larger financial plan. We talked about not having a sales process, but a help process. So, I think that having that mission, then infusing it with proof points, and we had a wonderful agency, Rethink, that was so helpful in getting that message out in a different way. So we used to say, let's talk about something different and in a different way. At the time, we used humor. Humor wasn't used that often in the banking world. And humor actually...
It was a new language.
It was a new language. And it really was started with Richmond Savings that really took an agency of record approach and really did advertising that was a bit different. And that, Rethink was the agency there. They continued to be the agency for quite a few years for Coast. But Tom Shapansky, Ian Grace, and Chris Staples owe a lot of credit for that great brand that they built and we built together.
Yeah. It was fun to watch that, friend. So you've made a decision to help to join us at the Leaderboard Exchange and help us grow this business, which is serving credit unions and helping them find the leaders that they need. Why have you decided that would be a thing that you'd want to do, and why now?
Well, I have some, passions. It's hard to work in an industry for 28 years and not love it. So I love the credit union movement. I think it is, it's always done great work. Credit unions do great work. And so the opportunity, and I love people. And I think, I was afforded a wonderful tutelage and training within the credit union system. So I also think that I want to do my part to help make credit unions as strong as they can be and have the smartest, most talented people. So, when I look at Leaderboard that is finding these amazing candidates for credit unions, I want to be part of that. And it just allows me to keep going, maybe a little bit of my own legacy in continuing to help credit unions and attract people. So the ability to talk about credit unions and the great work they're doing, and also find those candidates and know that when you get into a credit union, no matter what level you're at, you're going to get some amazing experiences that I think you can get nowhere else. And so And then I would also say, I think the work and the way that you and organizations you've run in the past, your approach to search, I did when I was at Coast Capital. We did a search together, and I was just very impressed by the quality of that search, the effort that you put into working with the client, but also working with those candidates. And that very impressed me. So to be part of your organization is thrilling for me. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we sit here mutually thrilled. So that's great. So when you think of the credit union industry, what is it about it that draws you in? What are the specific things about working in that space?
Well, there's so many things. I mean, I think, Alphonse Desjardins, to go way back in time, that is the sort of the grandfather of the credit union movement, talked about, above all else, it is an association of people, not dollars. Mm-hmm. That to me is exciting. And wow, yeah. the very structure of credit unions around their members, they came from the community because of, some unmet needs, whether it be shipbuilders or farmers or teachers. They came together and said, our community needs to be better served in financial services. Let's create this organization. And it is, member is a word banks can't use. It means something. Credit unions are owned by their members. They are reflecting the needs. So to me, credit unions were the ultimate purpose organization before purpose was cool. A lot of organizations are searching for their purpose now. I applaud that, but that is how credit unions were built from the ground up. And so there's an opportunity for people to live their values. You don't have to shelve your values and, work at a credit union. There's an alignment there that I think is wonderful. And that's why I think credit unions are just great organizations.
Yeah. And one of the things that we're doing together is you're going to be speaking to credit union leaders all over North America, hearing about some of the great things that they're doing in their communities. Where do you see them adding value in their communities? What kinds of things are you seeing?
It's about that expression, act locally, think globally. Mm-hmm. So they are making meaningful help and a difference in their local communities. So they're helping local nonprofits through. A lot of credit unions have staff who volunteer. They'll volunteer. They have a program where they'll even give you a day to go out and volunteer. There are numerous credit unions that have funds that they set aside to actually help the community. But there's also bigger picture things they're looking at. So they're joining organizations like B Corp and the Global Alliance on Banking Values, where they're thinking about the world and the problems that we need to be on top of, like the environment, social concerns, making sure there is equity in the world. So I just think that what they're doing in the community runs from the local nonprofit to bigger things like, CEO emissions and, what are they doing to make sure they are the diversest organizations in terms of their employee group. So there's a lot going on there.
Are you seeing credit unions get bolder on that front and take more risks and get more creative?
Yeah, for sure. I think there are, I would think about someone like a Van City that is really a cause-based organization, in my opinion, that happens to be a credit union. Mm-hmm. So they're putting those causes around fairness in the environment front and center and right into their brand. Mm-hmm. So that's big and bold and different.
Yeah. And just, in a nutshell, what do you think makes a credit union great?
People.
Yeah.
It always has been people. So it's the first and foremost the people who work there that are working towards that common purpose. You don't find many people working at a credit union that don't believe in credit unions. And so I think the ability to continue to attract that talent, and the credit unions were always a great place to work. And now I think for the next generations that are coming up, they're seeking out organizations that are true to their purpose and can demonstrate it. And so that's where I think credit unions, it's not something they're creating today. They've always been about that. And so it is, it's a bit by the people, for the people, and, it's people before profit. And that makes credit unions, an incredible place to work, and I think an incredible place to do your banking. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.